If you've been following the Soilpower journey for a while, you already know I'm obsessed with working with biology, not against it. Fermented plant juice, or FPJ, is one of those quiet, powerful tools that separates gardeners who are just feeding plants from those who are building living soil systems. FPJ isn't complicated, expensive, or trendy. It's ancient, effective, and incredibly potent when handled correctly. But here's the truth: many guides skip over how you store FPJ determines whether it becomes a garden booster or a weak, spoiled liquid. I've seen gardeners put in the work to make FPJ, only to lose most of its power through poor storage. This article is here to fix that, once and for all. Let's dive into how to store fermented plant juice properly so it stays alive, potent, and ready to supercharge your soil whenever you need it. Fermented plant juice is more than just plant tea. When done right, it's a living extract packed with enzymes, plant hormones, organic acids, and beneficial microbes. These components are fragile. They thrive under specific conditions and collapse under others. What gives FPJ its strength is the fermentation process itself. Beneficial microbes break down plant tissues and convert nutrients into plant-available forms. At the same time, natural growth regulators, especially from fast-growing plants, become concentrated. This is why FPJ works so well as a foliar spray, soil drench, or compost activator. Once fermentation is complete, storage becomes about slowing microbial activity without killing it. You're preserving life, not freezing it in time. One of the most common mistakes gardeners make is storing FPJ too early or too late. Fermentation usually stabilizes when bubbling slows and the liquid smells sweet-sour rather than sharp or rotten. At this point, the microbial population has reached balance. If you store FPJ too early, fermentation continues aggressively inside the container, creating gas pressure and unstable chemistry. Too late, and microbes begin consuming everything available, leaving behind a weaker solution. On Soilpower, I always emphasize observation over rigid timelines. Trust your senses. A good FPJ smells alive, like ripe fruit with a tang of vinegar, never foul or alcoholic. Once you hit that sweet spot, storage matters more than ingredients. Your storage container is the first line of defense for potency. FPJ should always be stored in glass or food-grade plastic. Glass is ideal because it's non-reactive and doesn't absorb odors or acids. Dark-colored glass is even better, as it limits light exposure. Metal containers are a hard no. The organic acids in FPJ react with metal, degrading nutrients and introducing toxicity. Even metal lids should be avoided unless they're fully lined. So, containers should never be filled to the brim. You definitely want to leave some headspace. Fermented plant juice, or FPJ, remains biologically active, and it's totally normal for a little gas to be released. Tight containers without any space can swell, leak, or, believe it or not, even explode. Yeah, I've actually seen it happen. Light is honestly one of the fastest ways to degrade fermented plant juice. Ultraviolet radiation breaks down enzymes, damages microbial DNA, and destabilizes those important plant hormones. If your FPJ is sitting out on a bright shelf, it's losing power every single day. Always store FPJ in a dark place, like a cupboard, cellar, or maybe just a shaded corner of your shed. If you have to use clear containers, make sure to wrap them in cloth, paper, or cardboard. Darkness doesn't just preserve your FPJ, it actually extends its usable life dramatically. This is really one of those small changes that delivers massive returns. So, FPJ doesn't actually need refrigeration, but, temperature consistency really does matter. Extreme heat, well, it speeds up microbial activity until, all the nutrients are used up. On the flip side, extreme cold slows everything down way too much and can even damage the structure of those microbes. The sweet spot is a cool, stable environment. Think roughly room temperature, or just a bit cooler. So like, your pantry, basement, or maybe a shaded storage room would be ideal. Just make sure to avoid putting FPJ near any heat sources, direct sunlight, or places where the temperature keeps changing, like outdoors. In tropical climates, this step becomes even more important. Heat doesn't ruin FPJ instantly, but over time, it definitely shortens its effective lifespan. One of the main reasons FPJ stores so well when you do it right is actually sugar. Whether you used brown sugar, molasses, or jaggery during fermentation, sugar acts as both food and a preservative. It creates osmotic pressure that, keeps harmful microbes from taking over. But, hey, sugar balance really matters. Too little sugar lets spoilage organisms dominate, while too much sugar can slow down microbial diversity and make FPJ less effective for your soil applications. A properly fermented FPJ will naturally stabilize itself. During storage, it's important to avoid adding water or diluting it. Always store FPJ in its concentrated form and dilute only when you're applying it to the garden. A well-stored FPJ doesn't just sit there, it quietly waits. When you open the container, you might notice a gentle release of gas. The smell should remain pleasantly sour-sweet, never rotten or putrid. Color may darken slightly over time, which is totally normal. What you're looking for are signs of mold growth on the surface, foul odors, or slimy textures. White yeast film can appear occasionally and isn't always a problem, but fuzzy green, black or blue mold means it's time to let it go. Healthy FPJ remains clear to slightly cloudy, never thick or gelatinous. So, here's the question I get constantly on Soilpower. How long can I store FPJ? Well, when it's stored properly, meaning in the dark, somewhere cool, airtight and undiluted, FPJ can actually remain effective for 6 months to over a year. In some cases, gardeners report strong results, even after 2 years, especially when those sugar levels were just right and the storage conditions stayed nice and stable. That said, FPJ is always most potent in its first few months. Over time, the microbial diversity narrows. It still works, of course, but its spectrum of benefits becomes a bit more focused. My recommendation? Honestly, make FPJ seasonally. Use those fresh batches for foliar sprays and sensitive crops, and save the older ones for things like compost activation and soil drenches. Before you apply stored FPJ, especially if it's been sitting for months, you'll want to wake it up. Just dilute it with non-chlorinated water and let it sit for a few hours in the shade. This gives the microbes a chance to rehydrate and activate before they hit the soil or leaves. So, this simple step can dramatically improve results, and it ensures you're delivering living biology, not just dormant residue. At Soilpower, the goal has always been resilience, strong plants, healthy soil, and systems that improve over time. FPJ fits perfectly into that philosophy, but only if we respect the biology inside the bottle. Storing FPJ correctly means you're preserving enzymes that stimulate root growth, microbes that unlock nutrients, and plant signals that improve vigor and resistance. You're not just saving liquid, you're saving momentum in your soil system. This is the difference between gardening that reacts and gardening that compounds results year after year. Fermented plant juice is one of the most powerful tools available to organic and regenerative gardeners, but only when it's treated as a living input. Store it with intention, protect it from light and heat, and respect the fermentation process. Do that, and FPJ will reward you with healthier plants, richer soil, and fewer problems in the garden. If this article helped you understand FPJ on a deeper level, make sure you subscribe to the Soilpower YouTube channel for more real-world, soil-first gardening knowledge. Share this with a fellow gardener who's making FPJ but not getting the results they expect. Together, we grow smarter and stronger from the soil up.